Sounds good. So let's get started. So welcome everyone for this event. So this is MAISS Week 3 event exploring career paths in tech. So first we're gonna go over some agenda for today. Next slide, please.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. Give me a, okay, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so the agenda for today, the first part, we're gonna do some introduction. So all the panelists will get to introduce themselves. And after that, we're gonna start our panel discussion. It's gonna last about 30 minutes and then we will move on to breakout rooms. So how the breakout room works is that each panelist will join the room and everyone can join any room that you want and feel free to move around as well. And after that, we all will come back to the main room and we're gonna have a raffle. So for the raffle, everyone will get a chance to win one of the two $20 Amazon gift card. And yeah, let's get started. So I would like to briefly introduce our panelists. The first panelist that we have is Ethan. He is an associate product marketing manager at Google. The second panelist is Heather. She's a growth operations manager at ironSource. And the third panelist today is Hansel. He's a technical solution architect at Google. And yeah, we're gonna move on to our first question. So I will leave all the panelists to please introduce yourself by mentioning your name, your role, the company you work with, and also the school that you went to. And anyone can start.
All right, I guess I'm happy to kick this off. Well, it's so nice to speak to a group of students. I really miss my college days. I guess I will jump into my intro. I'm Eason. Thank you for the kind introduction, Mickey. I graduated from USC about 2 years ago, and I started my career as a consultant at Workday. I did that for a little under 2 years, and then I went to work at Indeed as part of their product strategy team for a little bit. And just very recently, about 3 months ago, I joined Google as part of their APMM program, and that stands for Associate Product Marketing Management Program. And yeah, I'm really excited to be part of this panel. Feel free to really just ask me whatever you'd like to know. I'm super casual and I want to be as transparent as possible to help you make the best decision for your careers. And I'm also very open to networking even after this call. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to ask me any questions and stay in touch.
Cool, I guess I can go next. Hi, I'm Heather. I am a growth operations manager at ironSource. So that's basically a fancy way of saying that I'm an ad operations manager. Prior to this, I have been in different marketing roles. So I was doing affiliate marketing at both Ancestry as well as CJ Affiliate, which was an affiliate marketing network agency combo. And then I was also doing SEO, search engine optimization, if you're not familiar with that, at Healthline, which is a competitor of WebMD. And then I'm currently at ironSource, which is a ad tech network for mobile user acquisition. So we work with a lot of different gaming clients. And I graduated from UCI in 2018.
All right, I can go as well. So my name is Hansel Miranda. I'm a technical solutions architect at Google. I've held different roles. Prior to that, I was a program manager and then even at different other companies. I've been, a software developer, an engineering manager at different companies as well. So, I've been at Google for the last 5 years. And then prior to that, I've worked at various sort of Bay Area companies. So I have over 20 years of work experience pretty much in software development. I graduated from University of Mumbai in India, and I did my engineering there. And then I also got a business administration MBA degree from here at the University of Santa Clara.
Yeah, thank you so much for your introduction. I think it's really cool that each one of you has so like different roles. So now the next question would be about your role. So what does your day-to-day work life look like? And can you tell us maybe in detail, like, oh, what do you do from like the beginning of the day and like the end of the day?
All right, maybe I can start and we can go in the reverse order. You know, as a solutions architect, you basically work with customers, right? So you have products at Google. I'm specifically, you know, I work on Google Cloud products, and the sort of main sort of day-to-day set of activities is usually, you know, you have you know, calls, conference calls with customers. Sometimes you have to travel, like pre-COVID, you know, I was doing a lot of travel as well. These days it's basically remote. And the so the main sort of thing is, you know, a customer has bought one of Google Cloud's products, and you know, there are various people that have different sort of expertise in like various products. So my specific expertise was in their API management product called Apogee, and really it's basically just helping customers either solve some of their issues while they are either installing the product within their systems, or just getting you know, if it's a sort of a cloud hosted product that it's hosted within Google's environment, helping them sort of resolve issues, and then just basically educating them often on how to use the product. Really, if there are like features, if they need specific features to be implemented, just working with them on an ongoing basis. That's at a very high level what we would do as solution architects, you know, on a day-to-day basis. You know, sometimes when you go out to meet customers, they have very high level requirements, and you know, you basically discuss what their requirements are, explain, you know, how various features of the product can help solve those requirements for them. And then, you know, depending on the type of engagement you have with the customer, you know, you can basically spend like, you know, weeks with them, right? And it's like multiple customers, so it's not just one. Generally, you know, you work with like 3 or 4 customers usually. Yeah, and then just basically work with them, you know, helping them out, you know, getting them to a point where they can be more comfortable with the product.
Cool. I guess I can go next. So my role is very client facing. It's very client heavy. Since I work on the client services side of the ad network, so I'm constantly working with different gaming clients. And so my book of business is typically 5 to 10 different clients at once. And we'll usually prioritize that based off of revenue potential. And it kind of depends. My day-to-day depends on if there's different initiatives going out from the client. So maybe, for example, one of my clients has a movie coming out that's associated with their game. So when the movie launches, like that's going to be a really big push. We're going to probably open up new campaigns, have different kinds of creative rolling out, do different creative testing, look at what kind of payers we're getting in, look how performance is looking. We're very data driven, meaning that we're not being just like, oh, we think this will work well, we should just do this. It will be based off of, okay, what kind of ROAS or return on ad spend are we getting? What's the cost of acquisition, or what's the cost per user for the users that we're bringing into the game? What's the affinity between this game and another game we're, you know, advertising on? So I would say day to day, my day usually changes just because it's very dependent on what the client needs. And we're always able to be really agile and shift on a dime in case the client needs to. Say something blows up, we shut it down immediately, or, you know, we try to pivot. So hard to say, but it usually changes.
All right, so like I mentioned, I'm only 3 months into my role, but I will do my best to explain as best as possible what my day-to-day looks like. As I mentioned, I am an associate product marketing manager. And if for those of you that are familiar with the APMM program at Google, you're basically put into teams that you have no control over. I don't get to choose which team I want to be a part of. I happen to be on a pretty good team. It's the Google Workspace team. I have a pretty awesome boss. And you also don't get to pick the type of product marketing you do. There's core product marketing, there's growth marketing, customer marketing. I happen to be a core product marketer. And what that means is I work alongside PMs to launch features as and when they come out. And specifically, I work on search and intelligence within Google Workspace. What that means is I work on everything related to search, assistant, and AI. And any of the features that fall in those categories are things that I will be helping work on alongside PMs and helping launch those features. So for example, we actually have an upcoming feature launch, which I'm not allowed to talk about until February 15th, but there's a feature being released, and some of the tasks that I've been assigned with are helping put together blog content, put together tweets. I also help coordinate other launches so that we can kind of bundle these launches together if there is an overlap or similarity with these launches to help pretty much drive up attrition, also increase our acquisition as well. So as far as my day-to-day is actually concerned, I am usually in a lot of meetings. The, I guess, more work-intensive stuff like putting together content, that actually doesn't take up as much of my day as meetings do. For me, it's pretty meeting heavy, so I'm meeting with PMs, I meet with other product marketers on my team, I meet with sometimes the sales team as well to better understand what's working, what isn't working. And again, because this is a rotational program, I'm only with this team for a year. So that also has influenced what my day-to-day is looking like. But that in essence is what I've been up to, apart from ramping up these past 3 months.
Thank you so much, everyone. That's really insightful. So right now we're kind of know what is your day-to-day look like for you guys. The next question will be similar to this question, but it's gonna focus on what's your favorite part of the role and what is the most challenging part of your role? Mm-hmm.
Do we want to go in the same order or flip it around?
Heather, you want to kick this one off?
Sure, I can go first. So I would say the most challenging part of my role is how fast everything changes. So the company that I work for, ironSource, recently had a few different acquisitions. So Luna, which is like this creative platform that helps gaming companies better create their own creative without having like a full creative team. So it's a little bit more cost effective. There was also an acquisition recently that closed within the last few weeks of Tapjoy, which is another similar ad network, but their specialty is not what ironSource's specialty is. So the hope is that they're going to merge together and try to create a better, robust one solution rather than two separate ones that people have to use separately. So I would say that, as well as Scan. So typically, traditionally, there's been different attribution partners that ad networks and gaming clients will partner with. So attribution meaning that we need to have tracking partners in order to make sure that we know where spend is going, we know which user to reward, we know what, where the user is coming from and where the user is going. So all those good things that marketers need in order to make better decisions. So we still use those traditional attribution partners for Android, but for iOS, now most of the attribution is going through Apple directly, and they've really changed the rules around when we get the postbacks or the information back. What kinds of, we don't get revenue back straight as like a number. We don't just say like, okay, Hansel paid $5 for this game. We don't get that $5 back anymore. We get them in like revenue buckets, which is a lot more vague and not as useful. So just, I guess the challenging part is all the different changes that have come within the industry. But I would also say, like, tangentially, the best part of my job is just the variety. I'm definitely a person who gets bored really easily. So getting to work with all these different clients, I have clients all the way from like an RPG game or something more mid-core, all the way down to something more casual. So like a Candy Crush style game. So like the variety amongst the different games, the variety in terms of marketing tasks from making sure that the campaigns are hitting KPIs or hitting, the goals that we're looking for, all the way to making sure that attribution is looking okay, and that from a technical standpoint, this campaign is able to track everything that we need to track, and that we're able to pass it to everyone that we need to pass it to.
Cool. Okay, I can go next. The thing that's most fun in this role is really getting to learn new stuff. As you can imagine, Google Cloud is a lot of products, and even though you might be working on specific products like day-to-day, there is no sort of dearth of learning new stuff in Google. And sometimes it helps you because when you're working with customers, even though they might have like a specific requirement to use a specific product, there's always room for, okay, you yourself suggesting the customer, okay, you can also use this product or this feature of the same product. So, but in order for you to be able to suggest that to the customer or help them sort of, use those new features, it's basically helpful for you to basically learn the product, right? Because day to day, you might not be focusing on the other sort of things that are available, because your core sort of expertise and your core experience is on using one or two products. So the fun part of it is that you don't get bored of working on the same product all the time, right? Obviously, you need to have the time, right, to basically learn the new stuff. So that sort of makes it more fun and challenging. The challenging part is, there's going to be occasions where you're working with customers and the customers have certain requirements, and you might not know the answer to their questions upfront, even though you've been basically working on a specific feature of the product or on the product as a whole day to day. There's always requirements from certain customers that say, okay, how do I sort of do this in a different way, or maybe use a specific feature that you may have yourself have not used. And that's a challenging piece sometimes when you yourself haven't had that experience. In which case, many customers are sort of, they don't really expect you to sort of know every detail about the product, obviously. And it's also an opportunity for you yourself to learn about it, right? So you basically work with the customer, say, okay, I'll go and figure this out, and we can have another call maybe in a couple of days, and then we can discuss that specific feature. So that's sometimes challenging, when customers have those sort of requirements that you basically have never used or you don't know about. But then it's also like an opportunity for you to learn about it. So so all in all, I think the fun part of it is basically learning new stuff in general and sort of applying that with customer solutions, right?
For me, I'd have to say my favorite part about my role is how much visibility and impact I get to have. And I say that because, as you can imagine, because I get to work on launching different types of features, I get to be a part of the conversation about what gets launched, what type of things are coming out, and there is a creative element that goes into marketing that type of material. That's what I enjoy the most. As far as what's challenging, I'd have to say I'm learning more and more that stakeholder relationship is a huge part of my role. Not only do I have to make sure my PMs are satisfied, but the salespeople I work with are satisfied as well, because sometimes there may be a demand for, I guess, the assets that they use with their customers, which are called battle cards. For example, they might need those to be updated, and so they may need to pull me into those conversations. But at the same time, the PMs I work with may need my help with something that they're working on. And so it's easy for me to be drawn into different directions. And so I guess, in a sense, getting to have that impact comes with this price, and that is I'm working with a bunch of different stakeholders. So stakeholder management and stakeholder relationships is such a key part of my role as well. And I would have to say, well, that's it can be fun, but it's also quite challenging.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your challenging part and also favorite part, because I know a lot of people are curious on which part is like the most challenging or like most fun. So they might be able to like look into your role specifically and have something to talk about in the breakout room. So now I'm gonna pass it on to Celine to ask more questions.
Yeah, hi. So this next question is going to be for Heather. How did you break into the tech industry starting from a non-technical background, specifically in marketing?
Yeah, so I would say I did a lot of different marketing internships in college, probably too many to be honest. And so I was always just trying to find different things because none of the internships it always told me what I didn't want and not necessarily what I did want. So it was helpful, but it wasn't as helpful as I wanted to. So going into my last year of college, I was just applying for everything that I hadn't tried yet that could be interesting. And I landed on the affiliate marketing team at Ancestry, who do the DNA kits and the family trees. So I landed there, and I would say that they're kind of tech adjacent. Like I would probably categorize them first as like e-commerce, but I would say that really helped me kind of get my foot in the door, especially because affiliate marketing is a very like niche kind of marketing. And from there, I ended up at an affiliate marketing agency after realizing that I really, really liked affiliate marketing at the time, and moved into another like ad tech space because they're a network, and that really helped me, one, do the thing that I wanted to do, which is affiliate marketing, which is great, as well as get a lot more technical because I was working at a network and not just like a client. So I would say from a more, I guess, like technical marketing perspective, just figuring out what I wanted to do and getting deeper into that. And then since affiliate, I've definitely been more interested in some of the less creative aspects of marketing and more technical sides of marketing. So working with SEO, some of that can be really technical, as well as my current role, which is very technical heavy as like the main technical support for some of these clients. So even though I still have, I would say the majority of my day-to-day is still marketing, there's still a lot of technical aspects that I've picked up along the way that have really helped me in these tech adjacent, I want to say roles, tech adjacent, I want to say companies, even if the role isn't what someone would typically deem as tech.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that was really cool hearing more about trying a lot of different things and seeing whether you're passionate and really being able to narrow that down, because I feel like a lot of college students look for that nowadays. So that was really cool. But yeah, our next question would actually be for Ethan. So how difficult or how different is your work as an associate PMM from your previous experience in consulting? So like what were some of the transferable skills that you took with you to Google?
Yeah, it's actually pretty different. As Hansel described his work, my role actually sounds kind of similar, my old role sounds similar. I used to be an implementation consultant, and my job was to implement Workday financial software at other companies. What that entails is it's typically a 1 to 3 year process where I would have to work with the client over this long period and implement the software. So that would involve lots of presentations, lots of, to a degree, technical skill as well, because we had to be trained in Workday software and had to know how to implement it as well. So there was a technical component to that. And there was even like a mentorship element because I'd have to teach my clients how to use Workday also. But today, while I do create slide decks, I would say my role is much more creative. The one thing that's true is that, or that has stayed consistent, is that I still work with a lot. There's a lot of face-to-face interaction with stakeholders on a regular basis. And so some of the skills that have transferred over are, I guess, my ability to maintain a conversation and come prepared to a discussion, be able to articulate my thoughts really well. And I'd even say note-taking. As silly as that sounds, note-taking is such an important skill when you're working, especially if you're trying to ramp up and you need to be able to, take note of everything really fast from a mentor who's going on, talking about a bunch of different things. Or if you're part of a meeting and you need to take notes so that you know what to take away from the discussion and you have a list of to-dos, note-taking is the crux of all of that. So I have to say that note-taking is one skill that I also took away from my role as a consultant.
Yeah, thanks for answering in such depth. I think it's very important that you mentioned these soft skills because you can learn them anywhere and you just get better at them and you take them as you move up in your field and as you move industries, you will always have these soft skills and you'll continue to develop them. So my next question is going to be for Hansel. Why did you want to transition from an extremely technical role of an engineer to a more high-level role of an architect? How technical is your role? Could someone from a non-tech background do it?
Sure. So the role is very technical, right? So let me try to answer the first part of the question. I basically started my career in software development, and I was pretty much part of engineering teams in various companies. But these days, like I mentioned before, it's at a different sort of level, and that's in the question as well. It's a higher level than. So when I say higher, I don't mean like like career growth-wise higher, but it's like it's from a product perspective versus a solution perspective, right? So when you're an engineer, your day-to-day sort of work is working on the product, right, on the technical piece of software that you're working. So it's pretty much working with your engineering team, writing code, adding new features to existing code, fixing bugs in the code, right? And you're very testing them, things like that, right? And your day-to-day interactions is within your typically within your engineering team, maybe a QA team as well. And obviously it's very technical because you're doing software development, right? I did this for quite a few years, and what you actually don't get to do or see is how your product is used or applied when it is bought by customers, right? So within an engineering role, you are basically very focused on getting the new feature out of the product or the new release out of the product. So you're working on features and bug fixes. So I did it at some time. It was great. I basically like software development, and programming in general. So that's how I kind of started in the industry. And after a few years, I wanted to do something slightly different, right? I wanted to basically get out of that box, if you will, and see how products are really used and applied in the industry by customers. And that's a very different sort of angle, and perspective you get, right? And sort of one sort of benefit of that is you really see how your solution or product is used, and you can sort of then work with engineering team, because now you are basically externally focused, right? And engineering is typically more internally focused. But as a solution architect, you are externally focused. You can see how customers are actually, using the product, and you get to sort of play with the product, being an outsider, so to speak, right? And you can sort of get to do sort of apply the product in various solutions. So if, for example, you have a product that can be used in the healthcare industry or in the financial industry, right? So if you like, sort of being connected to things like in banking, for example, right? Or maybe in healthcare, and you would like to develop an app or a solution in those specific industry verticals, then being a solution architect exposes you to the requirements of that industry, and having a technical background and sort of connected to the product, you can basically implement the solution or piece of the solution yourself and make it available as sort of demos or proof of concepts to customers or prospects that might want to sort of use that solution within their own enterprise, right? So you are kind of at a level that's sort of little bit between the engineering team and between the customers who want to use that product, and you're sort of helping enable customers to use that product. So it's a different mindset. You have to be kind of a little bit externally focused. That means you need to be able to sort of be comfortable talking to customers and understanding what their requirements are, etc. Right. Within an engineering role, you're not usually exposed to a customer. Sometimes you are, if you need to help them, if there's a bug in the product and they are really stuck, then a solution architect might not be able to help them that much, because the problem is with the underlying product itself. and then in which case you involve engineering, technical support, etc. Sorry, and was there another piece of the question that I didn't answer? I think that was it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I honestly really enjoyed hearing more about kind of like the different skill sets you need for each one and how you adjusted to going from an engineer into an architect and what exactly that ensued, like the changes. So I thought that was really, really nice. But my next question is for all three of our speakers to answer, but is there any advice that you would like to give to our fellow MAISS members who would want to break into the tech industry? So anyone who wants to go first?
Yeah, maybe I can start. First of all, you have to be passionate, right? And that's kind of true for anything in general, right? So if you like to work in the tech industry, you need to be passionate about whether it's software development or whether it's a solution development, or even like as long as like if you like be a technical even in marketing or product management or whatever, right? In a product manager role, you might not be sort of coding day to day, but you still have to be technical to understand how your product is used, what is the sort of the market demand of the product, etc. So the first thing I would say would be passion for it, and to sort of help enable yourself to sort of learn more about a specific area of product. There are a lot of one thing that comes to my mind is certification, right? You can actually train yourself on whether it's a programming language or whether it's from a specific, whether it's Microsoft or Google or whatever. There are a lot of training programs and certification programs, and specifically in a consulting role, like a technical solution architect, companies look for people who are certified, right? So you may be Google Cloud certified or AWS certified, etc. So that's one path to sort of get exposed, train yourself, and and make yourself more marketable to potential companies in the field.
Yeah, those were really good points. I'll just add on by saying I think, especially nowadays, it's so important to have an online brand or some kind of presence online. And I think the best way to do this is with your LinkedIn. Personally, I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's actually why I got my job at Indeed. A manager reached out to me, and she reached out to me because she realized that I had some relevant experience, which I had listed on my LinkedIn. And so I always try to make sure my LinkedIn is up to date with all of that relevant information. And so that goes hand in hand with building your online brand. And I said nowadays, because of COVID, right, we're not meeting in person. And so it's really important to be able to have something to show for online so that when people type in your name, they want to look up more information about you or read up on who you are, they can go to a place and do so. Another way to do that is also by creating your own, maybe a website to develop your brand. Maybe you can create some kind of portfolio. I actually read, it was a while ago, there was an article about a girl, I think from UCI actually. She created a Spotify themed cover letter and got a job at Spotify. Now, I'm sure the reason she got a job was not because of that cover letter alone, but I'm sure it definitely wowed the recruiter. It must have wowed the hiring manager. And like Hansel said, it's so important to show passion. And they would have seen that girl's passion because they knew that she took the time to create something like that. And creating those types of things take time, and they show that you really care. Something else that's really simple, if you're doing like a call, like an interview over Zoom or Google Meet, you can change your background to the name of the company. I actually got my interviewer to laugh, and she was actually she said I'm the most enthusiastic interviewee just based on my background alone. So either she must have been interviewing some really boring people, or I guess I did something right. So that's something else. Building your brand is so important, and showing that you care is also very important. And I think at some point, especially in college, it's easy to feel pressure because everyone around you is getting internships, jobs, and you might feel like you're being singled out and you're not doing enough. But it really is a numbers game. And I think when I say that, I mean just continuing to submit the apps is so important, no matter how gruesome it is. because that's really what it's at. I submitted 100 applications, 100 plus in my sophomore year. I didn't even get one internship in my sophomore year, right? And so you'll find stories like this, and there are people who that probably wasn't a very good example, but there are people who have, submitted maybe 50 plus apps and they got that one internship that really mattered, and that's the one they needed, right? So it really comes down to a numbers game. I probably have more tips for this too. I just can't think of any at the moment, but that's what I'd recommend for now. And I'll chime in if I can think any, maybe after Heather goes.
Yeah, I guess going off of Hansel's point too, it's not even just, Google has more than just technical certificates that are really helpful. There's some SEO ones out there too for like Google Analytics that are really helpful. When I was in college, I was a BIM major. I was a business information management major, so took a lot of business and CS classes, and knew pretty early on that I did not want to be a software developer. And so kind of like running away from that problem, I guess, which wouldn't recommend, but I started a blog and kind of worked on that a lot of like, okay, content creation, working with CMSs, doing SEO, doing social media, figuring out all these little things of like almost honestly a small business, to a certain point where I got a business license. I, did all these different things. So I would definitely say, like, if there's free resources out there and you have the time and energy to do so, I would definitely take advantage of that, because I definitely think that gave me something to talk about at the beginning when I was interviewing, and I hadn't had any professional experience, but I was like, hey, like, this is what I'm doing with my free time, and this is like, I'm curious enough to learn about this, and I'll be curious enough to like learn at your internship too. So I guess just really showing that you're down to put in the work, I think is really important, especially like when I've been interviewing people at companies too, like on the other side, of just seeing how, not like eager, but kind of eager that people are just to like, and how, I guess, moving off of like the passionate thing of you're passionate and you're eager and you're hungry. And you know that this person, is going to be like a good asset to your team. So kind of thinking about that, and also just, it also opens a lot of opportunity for you to try new things. I feel like there's never a wrong time to try a new thing, but especially now when, you have so many different options through like clubs and school and classes where it's a little bit harder to later on. I'm not saying you can't, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's definitely harder later on when you're not in school and there's no like people whose jobs it is literally to help you, as well as when you have a full-time job and then you work 40 plus hours a week, and you just don't really have the energy outside to try new things unless you're super desperate or super excited about this other thing to try out. So
thank you.
I just remembered,
yeah,
if you don't mind me adding, Vicky, really quickly, I was going to say that I know that question was, how do you recommend you break into the tech industry? Let's say you're applying to tech and you haven't gotten any internship. I would apply, just apply like crazy to all, like every company you can find, because any experience is better than no experience. And actually, when I think back to my junior year, I actually had some internship experience that I did while I was a student during the school year. And that experience, like my interviewer told me, the reason why they want to interview me was because of that particular experience. Even though it wasn't like a tech company, it has some relevant skills, and for that reason they interviewed me, and that led to an offer from Workday. So if anything, I hope what you take away from that is any experience is better than no experience, and even if you don't get what you want, sometimes there are steps you need to take to get to where you want to be. And don't be afraid to take those steps. And if you put in the work, it'll definitely pay off.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. And for everyone, thank you so much for your advice. Because right now, I know most people in this call are going through like figuring out what they want to do. Are they like, they might not be like that sure that they want to pursue a career in tech or business, but these are really helpful. And yeah, so now we're gonna move on to the breakout session. Ryan will open the breakout room Oh, it's open. So feel free to join the breakout room with the panelists that you want to talk to and get a chance to like ask any questions that you have. We will come back around 7:58, I think, but I will be here in the main room. And if anyone want me to assign you to the room, just let me know. And yeah, enjoy your conversation in the room.
Oh yeah.
We would like to do is to take a picture and then we'll go from there before everyone leaves. So if you guys are comfortable, please turn on your camera and show up your big smile. And we're gonna post that on MAISS Instagram.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the photo now. So feel free to turn on your cameras. I'll take two, so I'll count down. So this is the first one. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, one more. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you so much, guys.
I'm surprised nobody
Alright.
did the zot zot zot. That's your that's your symbol.
Oh yeah, we didn't do that. Yeah, I also forgot. So now there's something that I want to mention before we close the event. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, all the panelists, for coming out and join us. I've learned a lot, even though I was like hosting the event and everyone was like hosting the event as well. But I'm pretty sure everyone learned a lot from this event and all your advice. And I'm glad that most people got a chance to talk to you guys in the breakout room. And now I'm gonna post a feedback form in the chat and also panelist LinkedIn. Make sure to submit some feedback form so we know how we did and also connect with all of them on LinkedIn. And next week, MAISS will have our workshop, which is Intro to Git workshop. It's gonna be the same day and the same time, 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursday. It's gonna be on Zoom. And yeah, so I'm closing the event. Feel free for the panelists to leave, or you can stay for the raffle to see who will win the raffle. Yeah, Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll be doing a raffle for our students who attended, but yeah, we appreciate you guys spending an hour with us, especially after work. But yeah, thank you very much.
All right, good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Heather.